Hello there, the story ninjas in the house. Well, listening ninjas, our stories are still coming from www.nalibali.mobi or .org. And pop over to their multilingual story library because this is where I've been finding my stories. So even though I don't have pictures to share with you, I'm sure you will find a picture or two when you go and visit their site. This one is called Sisanda's Gift. Would you like to know more about it? Because I'm eager to share the story with you. But if you're up to it, find the story and read along. So Sisanda's Gift was written by Gcina Mhlope and illustrated by Jiggs, Snaddon-Wood. So remember, I don't have pictures with me today, but I'm going to ask you to warm up those imaginations. Yes. And together, let's imagine the setting. Our little girl lives on a game reserve. So many of us have not been there to visit ourselves, but we've seen pictures. We may have seen something on the television too. So we've got it. Wide open spaces, lots of wild animals, creatures and insects of all sorts. Yes, including the big five. Well, that's where our story starts. So it's just a little bit of a something. It may start off a bit sad, but it definitely has a much happier ending. So this is where we begin. Every day when 8-year-old Sisanda gets home from school, she changes out of her uniform, eats a lunch, and plays a game of Laba Laba with her grandfather. And they have so much fun flying their cows around the board that she doesn't want to stop. But then he reminds her that she wants to become a bank manager when she's big. And how will she do that without going to high school? Oh, grandfather always jokes with her. Sisanda just laughs. I will go to high school and I will go to university too, she says. And that's why I work so hard at school. Now Sisanda is quite tall for her age, and she takes after her grandfather. Her round face and a beautiful smile are mothers. Both her parents get up early each morning to go to work. And while they both work at the game reserve, so they start very, very early. And by the time Sisanda and her friends start school, coachloads of tourists are already arriving to spot Africa's finest animals. And for her last birthday, Sisanda had a very special treat. Her parents got permission for her to have a party at the game reserve. Now that's something special. The giraffes at the reserve were very curious about these people. And well, they stretched out their long necks so they could have the best view of the party. I think you are imagining this long craning necks because yes, the giraffes have the longest necks out at the game reserve. Well, I think they even wanted some birthday cake. Well, Sisanda loved giraffes. All the animals were special to her, but it was the quiet and gentle giraffes that stole her heart. And she could spend all day watching these tall, graceful creatures. Well, one day, Sisanda's father came home from work, well, a bit earlier than usual, and he was very upset. Ah, what's wrong, Baba? Sisanda asked. Today a swarm of bees stung a mother giraffe, explained Sisanda's father, and her head was so swollen from all the stings that her beautiful eyes were closed. And we tried everything to help her, but it was no use. She died. And the saddest part of all is that she had a young calf that still needs her. No, said Sisanda, and she started to cry. I wish there was something I could do. The baby giraffe must be crying just like me. Sisanda cried and she cried. Her mother tried to comfort her. She even read Sisanda an extra story that night, just to help her to forget a little bit. Ah, she felt so sorry for that giraffe. While eventually Sisanda drifted off to sleep, to the sound of her mama's voice telling her the bedtime stories. The next morning Sisanda woke up with a bright idea. Can I go with you to work today? She asked Baba. I have a gift for the giraffe. Any idea what that gift could be? Are you thinking? I'm wondering too. So her parents looked at each other and smiled and said, yes, of course you can come with us. And it was a warm and cloudy day. Everything in the reserve seemed unusually quiet. I think the sun isn't shining today because it's sad about the baby giraffe, said Sisanda. A great big elephant gazed at the family walking by. Maybe he's wondering why a little girl is going to work with her parents, said Sisanda's mother. Sisanda nodded. He's going to get a surprise when he finds out, she thought. They found the baby giraffe standing alone. His willowy neck drooped, and his big brown eyes looked dull. Sisanda stood as close to him as she could. She opened her small bag and took out a book. Then, to her parents' surprise, she began to read to the baby giraffe. Are you picturing that sight? A little girl with a book and a baby giraffe? Well, he turned his head towards a voice and he listened, as if he could understand her every word. Well, at first, Sisanda's parents thought that reading to a giraffe was a strange thing to do. It would seem a bit strange, eh? But soon they changed their minds when they saw how peaceful he looked. His gentle eyes looked at Sisanda. My story made him feel better, she said, when she got home and she told her grandfather what had happened. Sisanda went to visit the little giraffe most afternoons after school and over weekends, and every time she went, she took another story to share. The two new friends looked so good together that even passing tourists took photos of them. And slowly, the giraffe grew stronger. People at the game reserve were talking about this very strange sight. Well, the rangers were taking really good care of this baby giraffe, and they noticed all the love from his new friend Sisanda, and how it seemed to work like magic. So one day the reserve manager asked Sisanda to give her friend a name. And she thought, I think Thokozani is a good name, said Sisanda. Would you like to find out what Thokozani means? Yes, so let's listen a little bit more. The next day, the reserve manager phoned Sisanda's teacher. He invited all of Sisanda's classmates to come and meet Thokozani. The handsome giraffe had grown taller and stronger, while in the 3 months since Sisanda's first visit. And on the day of the outing, 40 grade 3 children waited eagerly for the reserve gates to open. And then Sisanda proudly led everyone to Thokozani. Some of the children looked at the tall giraffe in absolute amazement. Now, I've never been that close to a giraffe. I've seen one in a distance, and yes, they are absolutely amazing creatures. Oh, my word. Some of the children giggled. I think they were a little bit nervous too. And their teacher smiled. Wow, your friend is so beautiful, Sisanda. And you have been so kind to them. Everybody whispered. What is his name? Asked one of the boys. Thokozani, said Sisanda. Well, Miss Cornelia, teacher says, does anybody know what Thokozani means? Nobody seemed to know. Thokozani means rejoice. And the children sat and listened while Sisanda read the story she had read to Thokozani that very first time. The reserve manager took photos. Some tourists passing by took photos too. Even a photographer from a local newspaper was there, happily clicking away. And he promised that a photo of them would be in the local newspaper very soon. And everyone cheered. What a gift! Reading to heal a friend. Now, I do have some other friends called Read for Hope, and this story really has me thinking about them, how so many stories have been shared all around South Africa and some beyond, bringing hope and healing to all of those who listen. So never underestimate the value and the worth of reading stories to your friends and family. So until next time, happy reading and sharing.